This has to be the worst holiday movie of all time. Hey everyone, Happy New Year. How late into the new year can you get away with saying Happy New Year? I was in the midst of my usual holiday movie watching, and I started wondering whether or not there was a New Year's Eve movie. Like, I know there's a movie called New Year's Eve, but is there a New Year's special? And there is, and it is awful. You know Rankin Bass? They make all those stop-motion Christmas movies like the racially insensitive Little Drummer Boy and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which, by the way, Santa is totally the villain in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but he's just a dick to a baby deer so much that he runs away with an unlicensed dentist, and that's why the Bumble even gets involved in the entire mess, but that's another story for another day. They made a New Year's movie, and it is the craziest shit you will ever see in your entire life. It's called Rudolph's Shiny New Year. And if I tried to tell you the plot, you would not believe me. Rudolph is tasked with saving the baby New Year so that a terrifying bird will not take the baby New Year and prevent the New Year from happening. That is as good as I could do. This movie is far and away the biggest piece of nonsense I have ever watched. First of all, it's crazy I even had to rent it. It starts after Christmas ends with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer leading Santa's sleigh to one of the worst covers of that song I've ever heard in my life.
You know Rudolph, who guided and pulled Santa's sleigh, and who saved Christmas by lighting the way. But there's more to tell. Rudolph saved the New Year as well.
And Santa gets home to a note from Father Time where he divulges to a penis-nosed elf that he has to send Rudolph out to save the new year. And he literally just puts Rudolph out into a blizzard. But don't worry, Father Time accompanied him with a wisecracking clock and a sultry camel. And there is a lot of weird sexual tension between the camel and Rudolph. It happens for the next 15 minutes and it made me feel very uncomfortable.
Come on, great 5:15. Get us to Father Time's castle. Quick!
Well, since we're being quick about things, you may call me Quart.
Let's go, Court!
But before I could even get into that, they are attacked by a terrifying screaming bird. And what does a terrifying screaming bird have to do with the new year? Your guess is as good as mine.
All fear Eon the Terrible!
But we come to find out from the sultry camel that the bird is known as Eon the Terrible, and he is gonna turn into ice and snow this year if he does not kidnap and enslave the new baby New Year.
Eon can only live until he is 1 eon old. Then he will turn into ice and snow.
If December 31st goes on forever, so will he.
He'll never change to snow. He'll never stop scaring people.
And this is the point where we meet Father Time, who is a weird old dude that carries a scythe for some reason. And he explains that the baby New Year ran away because everyone, including a Cockney nurse, 2 grandfather clocks with faces, the sultry camel, and the clock general couldn't help but make fun of this baby's ears.
Oh, blimey, I can't help it, those bloomin' ears!
And then proceeds to sing a song which tells us that the new year happens when the old year apparently dies. It's very confusing. So they need the baby New Year in order to have a new year. This is a real plot of a movie that they wrote. And we find out that Rudolph has to go on a journey to the archipelago of last year's, which, by the way, nobody in the movie knows how to say archipelago.
The archipelago of last year's.
Archipelago?
The archipelago of last year's is the most fantastic archipelago of all.
And it is there that Rudolph will find the baby New Year and save him from Eon the Terrible. So Rudolph sets on his journey to the archipelago of last years, where he is met by the terrifying screaming bird again, and he is saved by none other than, and I'm not making this up, a whale with a clock on its tail voiced by Red Skelton named Big Ben. Rudolph then puts together his band of bandits to save Baby New Year, which include a Gary Busey coked out caveman, a wisecracking Shakespearean knight, and Ben Franklin. Why get Ben Franklin involved? I have no idea. And I can't even imagine the pitch meeting that put this band of characters together. Yeah, did you come up with Rudolph's sidekicks yet? Ooh, yeah, maybe like a crazy caveman, a wisecracking Shakespearean knight, and Benjamin Franklin. That makes no fucking sense, but nobody's gonna watch this movie anyway, so let's just roll with it. So the bird steals Baby New Year, but Big Ben the whale shoots water out of his blowhole and knocks the baby out of the sky. So the baby uses his hat as a parachute, but before he could get to the ground, a vagrant wind sends him back in the air to the island where the terrifying screaming bird lives. And what is the name of that island? The Island with No Name. And I feel a pitch meeting coming on. Hey, me again. You know we were supposed to come up with the island where Eon the Terrible lives in that awful movie we're writing? Yeah, it still doesn't have a name. Well, I think that's perfect, right? Like the island with no name, because it doesn't have a name. Hey, yeah, that's fine, whatever. Like I said, nobody's gonna watch this anyway. And when the knight finds out Baby New Year's going to the island of no name, he goes on a tangent that nobody ever reacts to at all.
We must pursue them. Yes, we must after them to the ends of the earth till victory is ours. For each dawn we die, we must after them.
But how?
And for some reason, when the caveman, the knight, and Ben Franklin think all hope is lost, Rudolph sings a song about being bullied, which me and Big Ben had the exact same reaction to.
I'll make your dreams all come true. Have a little faith in me, and as they say...
So they get to the island, and you could tell the writers had no fucking idea how to end this movie. Because Rudolph gets trapped in snow, but then uses his nose to melt the snow and goes up top and tells the Baby New Year that it's okay to be made fun of. And when the terrifying screaming bird sees that Baby New Year's gonna be rescued, he goes into action, and Rudolph tells the baby to show the screaming bird his ears. And the bird laughs so hard he falls appallingly down the side of a mountain.
That he laughed himself right out of his nest. He laughed right down the side of that mountain. And then he laughed OM, 10 to 3 and Sev, free from their snowball.
At which point Rudolph says he's safe from turning into ice because anybody laughing that hard is warm inside. So he never had to steal the baby in the first place. He just had to hear a good joke. But then it strikes midnight, which means that it's all over because they didn't get the Baby New Year back in time to pass on the new year to him. And Rudolph says there's no way we could get back in 12 bongs of the clock before the new year starts. And don't you worry, he's wrong, because who saves him? Santa. This movie makes no fucking sense. So they bring Baby New Year back. He gets the new year passed along to him, and that's it. The movie ends right there, leading us to find out the same lesson as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that being different is bad unless it's for other people's personal gain. This movie had everything awful. It had no plot. It made no sense. The characters were ridiculous. It was basically just a money grabber from Rankin Bass, those thieves. And I loved every second of it. I am gonna watch this movie every year when the clock strikes midnight. I promise you, if you watch it, you will be disappointed in the best way possible. So like and comment if you like this video, subscribe for future content, and just remember, no idea is too big if you're an ideas guy.